Hello and welcome to the Duke's Dark Corner. Today's video is going to be a talk video about one of my favorite directors of all time. The man is Lucio Fulci, an Italian director who raised up during the 70s and 80s producing or directing horrible splatter feasts like Zombi 2, City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and House by the Cemetery. Unfortunately, Lucio Fulci passed away. I think it was 2004. After a long time of illness, I think he had some kind of liver disease. But his legacy of movies will still be here. Forever, more or likely. And you can argue that he was a trashy director or that he made just B-movies. And he was an exploitation director. And he did make a lot of not stellar movies. But he also made these horror gems that stands out even today and have never been bested in any way. So I have a couple of Fulci films here that I would like to recommend to you. And the first one is Paura nella città dei morti viventi, and it's, sorry for my bad Italian, but it is City of the Living Dead. Yes, it's City of the Living Dead. And this movie starts by a priest hanging himself in a graveyard in a town. I think the town is called Salem. And by doing so, he opens the gates of hell so that the dead can walk the earth and take over everything. And it's up to a jaded journalist and a psychic medium to close the gates of hell before All Saints' Day, I think. And this movie contains a lot of gore. It contains one of the few or the only maggot storm I've seen, and it actually was live maggots blown at the actors. I've been a big fan. It also contains a scene that is very controversial. It's a scene where one of the actors, I don't know if you can see it here, John Morgan gets a power drill through his head, and the other girl, Daria something, pukes up her innards after seeing the apparition of the vicious, now zombified priest. This movie is dear to my heart. It was one of the notorious video nasties. But it's not just that, it's that it has an atmosphere that is somewhat unnerving. Especially a scene where one of the protagonists of the movie, antagonists, I don't know what it's called, Jeanette Ågren, Jeanette Ågren, she's a Swedish actress, finds a dead woman on the floor of her kitchen. And the woman was dead. She saw her dead in her coffin the very same day. And it got this eerie feeling of having a dead person in your house. She's not moving. Well, she is moving, but you don't see it. She just disappears all of a sudden, and you can hear her walking around. And the hysteria that a woman feels of having a corpse walking around in her house is so unnerving. I love that movie. The next one is an odd one. It is El gatto nel cervello. Sorry for the Italian. A cat in the brain. And this is one of Fulci's last movies where he actually plays pretty much himself. He plays a horror director called Fulvio, I think. And he gradually becomes impacted mentally by the gore and movies he makes, and he starts to kill off people. But is it really him or is it someone else? Well, you have to see Cat in the Brain to know the true story. Cat in the Brain, one of Fulci's last movies, unfortunately. Now we are going into classic territory again with El Aldila. El Aldila. The Beyond. Tu vivrai nel terrore del Aldila is the original title, and it translates into And You Shall Live in Darkness in the Beyond. And the main role is played by the very same girl as in City of the Living Dead, Catriona McCall. And she inherits this old Louisiana swamp hotel, which is one of the 7 doors of hell. And soon zombies and spooky things starts to happen in this old hotel. And this might be Fulci's strangest movie, I think. It plays out like a hallucinatory nightmare where time and space doesn't really exist. It's like a nightmare where you go from one scene to another and all of a sudden you're in a different place, and it's surreal. And it's very horrifying. If you're all of these movies, I need to say, you might be a darkling, but if you are sensitive to especially gore, there are other films by Fulci. He actually made a version of White Fang and Return of White Fang. He's made westerns, The Silver Saddle, For the Apocalypse, and even comedies. So if you want to explore Fulci but not get terrified, I recommend those movies. The next one is also a classic, but this is not actually a gory movie. So this one you can actually watch if you want to get a taste of Fulci. This is Manhattan Baby. This is a French print, so it has a Malédiction du Père Pharaon, un film de Lucio Fulci. And this one is about an archaeologist who finds a tomb in Egypt, and her daughter is given a strange amulet by a blind woman who possesses the girl, and people start to disappear. And it's also got to do with time, space, portals, a bit Lovecraftian, old gods. It might not be as popular as the other Fulci movies or as highly regarded because it lacks very much of the gore. It has little blood, of course, but nothing too serious. And now, Lucio Fulci's masterpiece. Or have I missed someone before? Yes, of course. I want to give you this little... This is classed as his 4th classic Fulci movie, and it is The House by the Cemetery, about a family moving into an old new mansion in New England who was once operating ground for a mad scientist or doctor known as Dr. Fraudstein, who still haunts the house. It's gory as hell. I don't know, there's actually a folder in this one, and I don't know if I can show you some of the pictures or if this video will be... I don't know. You've probably seen worse, but to sensitive viewers, look away. As you can see, there's a lot of gore. And it's also have that kind of Fulci surreal feeling of what's real, what's not. And the endings to this one probably will be discussed as much as Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, because it's a brain twister. So, Quella villa accanto al cimitero. House by the Cemetery. This is a gold movie. Now, the first movie that actually introduced me to poor old Lucio, it was back in the 80s. The video nasty craze was going on. We had it in Sweden too. And I read an old magazine called Film and Video, and there was an article about these banned videos. And on the this paper. There were pictures from the movies, and one of them always stood out, and that was a hand coming out of the ground, I think. Or it might have been the cover for City of the Living Dead, which they used as promotion for Zombi, which is the movie I'm talking about in Sweden. So Zombi was the movie that I really, really wanted to see. I actually got to see House by the Cemetery first when I was like 10 years old, and I was with my dad, and they had a party, and I don't know, he didn't really know what he was doing, and he like put House by the Cemetery in the VCR, and me and a girlfriend, we were absolutely shocked. Especially there's a scene towards the end where the hero cut up Dr. Freudstein's belly, and it kind of comes out this carbonara sauce shit full with maggots, and we were like, oh my god. But we soon realized that was just the appetizer, because after that he wondered if we wanted to see another movie, and we said yes. I don't think we could have said anything else. We were like, yes. Want coffee? Yes. Want a beer? Yes. Want to be thrown out of the window? Yes. So we put on The Shining. Alright, enough with that. Zombie. I have 3 different versions of this movie. I love it so much. The first one is the English uncut Zombie Flesh Eaters. And this cover is actually pretty cool, because this is a print, kind of like a retro print of the original video nasty in England. It was given out by a company, I think, called Vipco. So this one I have. Then I have this is actually, I don't know if it's a bootleg, but it's a Thai version, which is just called the Zombie. Looks like this. And then I have a German or a Dutch, I don't know, Ein Lucio Fulci film. I think this one is German actually, made in Europe, but it's called the Zombie 2. So I have 3 versions of this movie, which seems a little bit silly, but I love it so much. I would have all the copies I could get if I could. Now the movie starts with a boat, a single fishing boat, drifting into New York Harbor, and when the cops investigate it, they come across this big zombie, and they shoot him and he falls into the sea. And the reporter, played by Ian McCullough, and this sailboat belonged to a scientist who was lost, presumably in the Caribbean. So this reporter and the scientist's daughter Anne, played by Tisa Farrow, Mia Farrow's sister. I think that was one of the few roles she made before retiring. They go to the Caribbean, to an island called Matul, to try and discover the secret, or the secret behind this fish boat that just drifted in. And they hook up with a photo model played by Oretta Guy, I think her name is, and another guy called, I don't remember his name, he's played by a Italian horror class cult hero called Al Cliver. I don't remember what his real name is, but he's calling himself Al Cliver, and he's been in a lot of movies, like the Black Emanuelle series from Joe D'Amato, and pretty much a lot of movies. And they come across Professor Menard, as he's called, and his beautiful wife, and he is trying to treat this illness that kills the villagers and turns them into the living dead. It contains a lot of gore, as it always is with Fulci. And particularly one scene where a girl gets her eye totally trashed on a big wooden splinter, which is very hard to see if you have problems with eyes. And it's a pretty strange thing, because in Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper, which is another classic, I tend to like his supernatural movies more. This is a giallo slasher, a murderer walking around sounding like a duck. In that scene there's a where the killer cuts an eye with a razor, and he then proceeds over the nipple. Oh, it's a really disgusting scene. So I think Fulci actually have fetish for getting eye poked out. There's an eye poking scene in Zombie. There's an eye poking scene in The Beyond. There's an eye poking scene in. There was supposed to be an eye poking scene in House by the Cemetery, but I heard that they cut it out because it didn't look realistic enough. There are eyes everywhere in Fulci's movies. Eyes getting trashed. Now, Zombie is a little bit of a mystery, because in most places it's called Zombie 2. So you wonder, what's Zombie 1? That's when it can complicate it. Zombie 1 is George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Because when that was released in Europe, edited by Dario Argento, I think they renamed it Zombie. To cash in on this craze, because it became very popular, they decided, not Fulci himself, but the company decided to rename this movie, which I think was called Island of the Living Dead in the first place. So they named it Zombie 2. There also was a Zombie 3 and a Zombie 4. Now Zombie 3, Fulci himself directed. It's a fun movie, but not a classic by any means. Then we have Zombie 4, which was made by... I don't remember who it was. Claudio Fragasso. I don't remember. But it was actually a movie called After Death, which they slapped the Zombie 4 title on. Then they released Joe D'Amato, also another sleaze, trashy director, directed a movie called The Killing Birds, which they slapped the Zombie 5 moniker on. I don't know why. I think there's a hallucination of like 2 zombies in the whole movie. Anyway, they also renamed, and this is where it gets crazy, Jess Franco's Virgin Among the Living Dead was called Zombie 4, I think, or Zombie 5. Zombie 4. And Franco's House of Usher was named Zombie 5. They called Joe D'Amato's Absurd Rosso Sang Zombie 5 Monster Hunter. So I would need a whole video to explain the chronology of these zombie movies. But this is Lucio Fulci's Zombie, the first classic, really good Italian splatter gore feast. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this little video, my darklings. I think it became longer than I expected. But until next time, I hope that you have a lovely evening. Take it easy, good look at a good movie or two. And I will see you in the next video. And remember, there can't be any light without darkness. Or if you're in a Fulci movie, there will be permanent darkness because you will get your eyes popped out. Alright, love you guys. See you later. Kiss and hugs.